For more analysis on the job figures, we welcome Stephen Bronars, senior economist at Welch Consulting, joining us here in the studio. And joining us in New York is the author of 10 Ks of Personal Branding, career consultant Kaplan Mobray. First, Stephen, let me start with you. These job figures that have come out today, every month we go through it. Every month we, well, at least for the past 3 or 4 months, express this disappointment. This time around, while we say we're disappointed, the market, it was down, but it wasn't really that bad. Is there something else that's happening here?
Well, I think that expectations were pretty low coming into this report. I think a few months ago, we thought things were going to be taking off, and they have really slowed down the last few months. So I think there's diminished expectations, and that's why the market, I don't think, reacted that much.
Any surprises in the report that you saw in terms of different sectors where they were adding jobs or where they were losing jobs?
No, I think it's almost the same thing that we've seen the last couple months, about 75,000 jobs per month over the last 3 months. Unemployment rate pretty steady. It's just slow, kind of tepid, lukewarm recovery that we're going through.
And that's why
right
the
now.
Expectations are so low. Kaplan, in New York, I want to bring you in on this because you talked to so many professionals, both employees and employers, about this job market. Was there anything in the report that perhaps surprised you?
No, I mean, it's pretty much a continuation of what we've seen for the last several months. The one thing that I think is concerning is the rate of the people who've been unemployed for over 6 months. And that continues to grow. And, that's something to be concerned about. But there is a little bit of hope. I mean, it is slow, but there is some hope in the fact that people are still getting jobs. It's just really slow right now.
One of the aspects of the report, and I don't want to belabor all the negative aspects of the report, but one of the issues was that the underemployment did creep up once again, and these are people who have taken part-time jobs that perhaps wanted full-time jobs. And as a career consultant, what can you do to help those individuals that are in a job, but they may want to get promoted or they want to get that full-time job that they originally wanted? What can they do about that?
Yeah, a lot of job seekers right now are just going for an interview, but they're not really going for a conversation. And there are 3 things that job seekers need to do today. 1, they need to build relationships. And what I mean by that is really ask for informational interviews with employers or prospective companies that they want to work with, and just to have a conversation about their skill. That way, when a job opens up, maybe a couple months from now, they're on that radar screen. A lot of seekers are just going for the interview. The second thing is really, looking at websites like LinkedIn and others that actually can help build a career profile. A lot of job seekers right now today are just going for the job, but not focusing on what employers know about them well before they get the interview. So it's really important for someone who's looking to bolster their career to have a solid online profile on websites like LinkedIn. Thirdly, it's really important to build skill. So if you are underemployed or looking for that next job, take a course, go back to school. But today, employers have less time to train new employees. So it's really important to build your skill so that you can actually hit the ground running when you get that job.
That is a very good point in terms of the skilled jobs, because we saw, and Stephen, I want to ask you this, we saw that where they were creating jobs in manufacturing, healthcare, professional services, all of these jobs require a significant amount of skill sets, in other words, some sort of secondary training, if you will. If that's where the jobs are and people aren't qualified, isn't that going to take a significant amount of time to get people trained into those jobs?
It certainly is. And I think the 2 areas where we've seen growth, I think, over the last few years is healthcare and professional and business services, like you mentioned earlier in the show. And those areas are where people have college degrees, or at least some college for the most part. And what we've seen over the last year is that job growth is 6 times faster for people that have attended college than people who have just a high school diploma or less.
You know what surprised me about the report is that hourly hours worked per week went up. Average hourly salaries went up. And what that tells me is that employers are taking advantage of their employees and making them work longer and harder, but they're paying them a little bit more too. Is that good news?
It's good news if you have a job. I think there are a lot of signs that a lot of people out there are uncertain about the job market. People aren't quitting their jobs. So the number of layoffs last year was the lowest it's been in a decade, but
this is not a good time to quit your job.
It's not a good time to quit your job, exactly right.
Kaplan, I think that's you laughing over there and having perhaps a smile, but this is a very serious situation where you have millions and millions of Americans who do want to work that can't find a job, and when they come and ask for advice, we talk about in the past about networking and so on. Do all of those old strategies, or not old, but do all of those strategies when the things were good, do they all still work, or is there something else that perhaps those who are looking for a job need to do to stand out?
Well, today companies are unfortunately taking advantage of some employees and having to work, do more with less. But if you are still looking for a job, networking is still the #1 way that you get back to work. The key today is, though, it's important to have names that you can refer into other companies. So it's really important to understand that who you know helps you to get a job. It's still an age-old principle, but it works today. So the more people you know inside a company who you can actually talk about or share their name in an interview, that actually helps you get closer to the job. So those age-old principles about networking still work today.
Well, Kaplan, I'm afraid to tell you that you just got yourself probably an extra couple 100 million viewers, so they now know you through networking. Thank you very much for your advice and your time. Stephen, thank you again for your